Okay, imagine stepping onto a bustling factory floor. You know, machines humming, parts flowing smoothly. Or maybe walking into a perfectly stocked shop. Everything you need right there. It often looks effortless, doesn't it? But have you ever really thought about what makes that flow possible? And well, why sometimes it all just grinds to a halt? Empty shelves, production stalled. Today we're taking a deep dive into exactly that. We're exploring the really crucial world of inventory management. Our mission here is to unpack what inventory really is, why it's such a critical asset for well, pretty much any business, and how getting a handle on it, especially using a tool like ABC analysis, can be a total game changer for efficiency and profit too. We're going to try and distill the key stuff for you, cut through the jargon, get straight to the core insights from our sources. So let's unpack this. We hear inventory and maybe think it's just stuff, but from a business angle, what are we actually talking about? What's the strategic definition?
Yeah, that's a great starting point because it's definitely more strategic than just, stuff.
Hmm.
From a business perspective, inventory is basically any asset a company owns that's meant for sale or the components that will eventually make up that product for sale. Think of it like a company's stockpile of tangible goods. And we usually break it down into three main types.
I,
First, there's raw material and supplies. These are the basic inputs, the unfinished items before they hit the production line.
uh,
Then you have work in progress, WIP. These are semi-finished goods, like imagine a chair being built, the wood's cut, maybe assembled, but it still needs finishing. That's WIP, not quite ready to sell.
got it.
And finally, finished goods. These are 100% complete, packaged, ready to go out the door to the customer.
Hmm. It's kind of amazing how inventory touches everything, isn't it? It's not just warehousing, it's manufacturing, sales, finance, really central to operations management. So, given that, why do businesses even hold inventory? It seems like it would just, cost money sitting there.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But holding inventory, it's really a strategic move. It's about balancing vulnerability with opportunity. It acts like a shock absorber for the business. Holding stock helps ensure production runs smoothly, avoiding costly delays. It lets businesses cut down on ordering costs bigger orders less often,
Oh, boy.
and they can grab quantity discounts too, lowering the cost per item. Plus, crucially, it helps avoid lost sales from stockouts. You can't sell what you don't have, right?
Makes sense.
It also helps optimize how you use your factory or plant capacity. Longer production runs can be more efficient, which again can lower the overall costs. Yeah, it's about continuity and cost savings. But it's really important to mention the flip side, a philosophy called just-in-time, or JIT.
Ah, yes, JIT.
Exactly. It's a totally different approach. It aims to slash inventory costs by getting goods only when they're needed for production, like almost zero inventory. It's super lean, but it really demands incredibly accurate forecasting and a rock-solid supply chain. So yeah, a very different way of thinking. It highlights that tension, stability versus pure efficiency.
Wow. Okay. So it really does sound like a delicate balance, a constant tightrope walk. So if businesses are trying to hit this sweet spot, what are the specific objectives they're aiming for with inventory? And what are the big risks they're trying to avoid?
Precisely. The main goal is always finding that appropriate level, avoiding having too much or too little. Operationally, they want to ensure materials are always available, production keeps running without hitches, minimize the risk of shortages, and keep customers happy by having products ready. Avoiding stockouts is key.
And financially?
Financially, the objectives are things like minimizing the capital tied up in stock, keeping inventory costs like storage, insurance, spoilage as low as possible, and getting the best deals when purchasing.
And getting that balance wrong. I mean, having too much stock sounds pretty bad too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Excess inventory has serious downsides. It ties up cash, unnecessarily money that could be doing something else.
Right.
It wraps up holding costs. It drains liquidity. And the stuff itself can just deteriorate, go out of date, or become obsolete. It's not passive. It's actively costing you money.
Okay, so that appropriate level isn't fixed.
Mhm.
You mentioned several factors influence it. What really shapes how much inventory a specific business should hold?
Yeah, it's definitely not one size fits all. Several big things come into play. First, the nature of the business itself. A supermarket's needs are worlds apart from, say, a company building airplanes.
Sure.
Then there's inventory turnover, how fast stuff sells.
Hmm.
Fast-moving goods need different management than slow-selling luxury items. The nature of the product is huge, too. Think fresh food versus car parts. Perishables need super tight control.
Makes sense.
Autonomies of production, so the scale of operations, that influences things too. And of course, the inventory costs themselves, holding costs, ordering costs, purchase costs, It's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
And beyond that, you've got the company's financial position, things like credit from suppliers, working capital, the length of the operating cycle, how long it takes to turn inventory back into cash, and interestingly, the attitude of management. Some leaders push for near zero inventory, others prefer large safety buffers. It's quite complex.
That is a lot to juggle. Okay, so we understand the what and the why. How do businesses actually control it day to day? What are some of the key techniques, maybe starting with the modern ones?
Right, control is the name of the game. On the modern side, a really fundamental concept is economic order quantity, or EOQ. This is all about finding that perfect balance point. It's a model used to figure out the optimal order size, the quantity that minimizes your total inventory costs. That's where ordering costs and holding costs kind of meet in the middle.
Ah, the sweet spot.
Exactly. It's a mathematical way to optimize how much you buy each time.
Okay, so EOQ tells you how much to order, but what about when? How do they figure that timing out?
Good question. That's where the reorder point, or ROP, comes in. This tells you when it's time to place the next order. It's usually calculated based on three main things. Lead time, that's the delay between ordering and receiving.
Okay.
The usage rate, how much you use per day, let's say. And your safety stock. That's a buffer you keep just in case of delays or unexpected demand. And tied into this, many companies use fixed stock levels. They set maximum levels, minimum levels, and average levels for items. This helps prevent, excessive costs from having too much or losses from running out.
And I think I saw something about a danger level.
Yes, the danger level. That's typically set below the minimum stock level. Hitting that basically signals an emergency time for urgent action to get more stock fast.
Those sound like powerful tools. What about some of the more traditional methods? Are there simpler approaches that still work?
Oh, definitely. A classic example is the two-bin system. It's brilliantly simple. You literally keep your stock of an item in two bins. You use from the first bin. When it's empty, that's your trigger time to order more. The second bin holds enough stock to cover you during the lead time until the new order arrives.
Huh. That is straightforward.
Very. It's visual, automatic. It's so simple. It's noted it can be used effectively even with minimal training. Then there's the perpetual inventory system.
Perpetual. Sounds like continuous checking.
Exactly. It involves keeping continuous real-time records of stock, often using physical bin cards right at the storage location, or now, more likely, computerized systems. Every time stock comes in or goes out, it's recorded immediately. It gives you a constant view of what you have.
Okay, so we've got these techniques. But imagine a company with, I don't know, thousands of different items. Giving everything the same level of intense control seems impossible, or at least inefficient. How do you prioritize? Where do you focus your effort to get the biggest bang for your buck? This sounds like where ABC analysis comes in, right?
Exactly right. You've hit on the core idea of selective inventory control. And yes, while there are other methods like VED analysis for vital items, SDE for scarce ones, FSN for movement speed, ABC analysis is probably the most widely known and used. At its heart, it's about categorizing inventory based on its value. The really costly, high-value items get the most attention. Those are your A items.
Okay.
The least valuable, numerous items get the least attention, the C items, and B items are somewhere in the middle. The whole point is to identify that small group of items that accounts for most of your inventory cost. Then you can apply different rules, different policies, different levels of control to each category. It helps you focus your investment, reduce the risk of stocking out on important stuff, cut down workload on managing trivial items, minimize losses from things becoming obsolete, and ultimately boost profits.
So it really boils down to not just what you have, but how much it's worth to the business.
Yeah.
This is sounding an awful lot like that famous 80-20 rule.
It absolutely is. That's a perfect way to think about it. ABC analysis is a direct application of the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule. The idea that roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. For inventory, it generally means something like 10-20% of your item types. The A class account for a huge chunk, maybe 70-80% of your total inventory value.
Wow, that's stark.
Often, yes. These are your critical few. Then your B class might be the next, say, 15-25% of items, making up maybe 10-20% of the value. And the C class is the vast majority of item types, maybe 65-75% of them, but they only represent a tiny fraction, like 5-10% of the total value.
Okay.
Understanding that principle is key. It tells you exactly where to focus your control efforts for the maximum impact. It's about strategic allocation of attention.
That really clarifies it. So digging into those categories a bit more, what are the defining traits of A, B, and C items, and how would the management policies actually differ in practice?
Right, so the categories drive different strategies. Let's take A category items. Like we said, maybe 15–20% of your item count, but upwards of 80% of the value. These are your high value, super important items. They demand very strict control. We're talking accurate, maybe even real-time records, frequent reviews, maybe even value analysis. Often, these are prime candidates for JIT ordering to keep stock minimal. You might have senior people involved in managing them.
Okay, tight control for the A's. What about B?
B, category items are the middle ground. Maybe 30–35% of item types representing around 15% of the value. They're important enough to need a proper formal inventory system and decent records, but the control doesn't need to be quite as intense as for A items. You might review them regularly, but perhaps less frequently, say quarterly.
And the C's. The majority by count, but low value.
Exactly. C category items. Could be 50% or more of your different item types, but only adding up to maybe 5% of the total inventory value. These are low value, individually less critical items. So you can afford a much more relaxed inventory process. Least amount of control, simplest records. You might order these in large quantities, maybe only once or twice a year. You might even keep higher safety stocks because the cost of holding a bit extra is pretty low compared to the hassle of running out or ordering frequently.
It makes sense. The classification process seems logical then, leading right into these different policies. What are some of the main ways companies apply this analysis? Where does it really help?
Well, the process itself is straightforward. Identify your goal, gather the data, rank items by value, calculate cumulative value, group them into A, B, C. But the real power is in applying those different policies. Like you said, obsessive oversight for A items, weekly checks, top management, minimal safety stock. For C's, maybe check every 6 months, generous safety stock, handled by junior staff.
Right. Tailored approach.
Totally. It helps focus management effort where it matters most.
Yeah.
It guides how you allocate funds and time. It helps you fine-tune stock levels, especially setting those minimum and maximum points for your crucial A items. It can also help understand usage frequency better and even identify items that might be good candidates for things like consignment stock where the supplier owns the inventory until you actually use it.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? We've gone deep into inventory management, definitions, types, why hold it, the risks, the tools.
And we really unpacked ABC analysis, showing how that simple 80–20 idea, the Pareto principle, can fundamentally change how a company handles its stock. It's all about being strategic, right? Knowing way to put your energy and resources to get the best results. Working smarter.
Definitely. And, thinking about inventory management and tools like ABC, it's not just for businesses. It kind of makes you think about prioritizing in your own life, doesn't it? Where are your personal A items? The critical few things, maybe tasks, relationships, goals that give you the most value and need your focused attention. And what are your C items? The trivial many that might be eating up time and energy without much payoff. How might identifying those help you shift your own strategies and focus better? Something to think about.